Two different worlds. On one side, a surgeon who had studied for years and saved thousands of lives. On the other side, a security guard who judged her solely based on her skin color. This encounter became the beginning of a power shift that echoed through hospital corridors. And the results were more surprising than anyone could have predicted. The bright lights of Mercy General Hospital shone ceaselessly, even during the night shift. The corridors were quieter, the footsteps more silent. But the hospital was as alive as it was during the day. The dance between life and death continued at every moment of time. Dr. Elaine Bennett was one of the most skilled choreographers of this dance. At 42, as one of the country's most successful cardiovascular surgeons, she had been running Mercy General's surgery department for the past 2 years. Under her leadership, the hospital had become one of the nation's premier heart transplant centers. Tonight, in New York's freezing cold, Elaine had to leave her warm bed at home and come to the hospital. When she received the emergency message, it was past midnight. Donor heart found. Patient being prepped. Please come to the operating room urgently. Elaine took off her nightgown, put on her jeans and sweater, quickly tied her hair, and jumped into her car. When she arrived at the hospital, her heart was beating in her chest with its own rhythm, a mixture of tension, excitement, and focus. That familiar feeling she experienced in every difficult surgery. But tonight would be different. Very different. When she reached the staff entrance of Mercy General, the security guard standing by the door, James Barrett, face to face he wasn't used to seeing. Elaine was dressed in a way that even her colleagues would barely recognize. Jeans, sneakers, and a dark blue sweater. Although her hair was tied up, she was far from her usual professional appearance. "Your ID card, please," said Barrett in a cold and formal voice. Elaine quickly checked her bag and felt her heart tighten. She had forgotten her ID at home. "I forgot to bring my ID," said Elaine, with a slight urgency in her voice. "I'm Dr. Elaine Bennett, Chief of Surgery. I was called for an emergency case." An incredulous expression appeared on Barrett's face. His eyes scanned Elaine's jeans and disheveled appearance. "Of course you are," he said, the sarcasm in his voice undisguised. "And I'm the hospital director." Elaine took a deep breath, trying to maintain her patience. "Mr. Barrett, I understand. You have security protocols. But there's genuinely an emergency. The patient is being prepped for surgery, and I need to be there." "How do you know my name?" Barrett asked suspiciously. "I'm the chief of surgery here," said Elaine, trying to stay calm. "Part of my job is knowing every staff member in the hospital." Barrett folded his arms across his chest, his stance becoming even more rigid. "Look, ma'am, many people try to get in here every day. A lot of people saying, 'I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse.' If you don't have ID, you can't enter. It's that simple." "I forgot my ID, but you can verify," said Elaine, taking out her cell phone. "You can call Dr. Marcus Reynolds, the operating room supervisor. He's expecting me." Barrett raised his hand with a theatrical sigh. "Look, I'm just doing my job. You can't come in, no ID, no entry. Do you understand?" Elaine's patience was being pushed to its limits. "Mr. Barrett, this is a matter of life and death. Right now, there's a patient in that operating room waiting for me. Please, I'm asking you to make one phone call." "Do you think I'm stupid?" Barrett's voice rose and people around started to pay attention. "If that were true, you'd be dressed properly and would have your ID with you. Isn't that right?" A mixture of shock and disbelief appeared on Elaine's face. "How I'm dressed? What does that have to do with my job?" Barrett was now smiling, but it wasn't a warm smile. "Well, you don't look like a real doctor." Elaine's eyes widened. "I don't look like a real doctor? What should a doctor look like, Mr. Barrett?" Barrett shifted, uncomfortable but unwilling to back down. "You know, more professional. Or perhaps more white?" Elaine's voice was low, but each word was like a sharp knife. Barrett's eyes widened. "That's not it. But really, women like you always... Women like me?" Elaine's patience was now exhausted. "What kind of woman am I, Mr. Barrett? What exactly are you trying to tell me?" Barrett was now feeling the weight of his words, but instead of backing down, he went even further. "Whatever. No ID, no entry. That's the rule. Come back during office hours tomorrow and get your ID replaced. Now would you please leave? I have other things to do. Elaine's mind was racing. A human life was at stake, and this man was obstructing her because of his prejudices. She took out her phone and called the operating room supervisor, Dr. Reynolds. Marcus, it's Elaine. I'm currently at the staff entrance, and the security guard isn't letting me in. I forgot my ID. Let's not keep the patient waiting. Please send someone. Barrett rolled his eyes as she spoke on the phone. To him, this woman was just putting on an act, and he wasn't going to fall for it. 2 minutes later, a door opened, and Dr. Marcus Reynolds, dressed in blue surgical scrubs, came running. He had a worried expression on his face. Elaine, where have you been? The patient is ready. Donor heart is on its way. What happened? The expression on Barrett's face began to change, but he was still resistant. She doesn't have ID, doctor. Reynolds, protocol rules. Protocol, Marcus shouted in disbelief. This is Dr. Bennett, the chief of surgery, Mercy General's best heart surgeon. Right now there's a patient in there fighting for their life, and you're talking about protocol? Barrett's face turned pale. But her ID, he stammered. Enough, said Marcus. Elaine, come now. The patient is waiting for you. Barrett was now completely silent, his eyes moving from Elaine to Marcus. I was doing my job, he began to say, but no one was listening. Elaine quickly passed through the corridor with Marcus, leaving Barrett in shock and frozen. She had to focus on the surgery, but she wouldn't forget this incident. The surgery lasted 8 hours, an intense, challenging, and delicate procedure. Elaine's hands were steady, her mind sharp and focused. She removed the heart, placed the new one, and took the necessary steps to prevent organ rejection. Everyone in the room watched silently, witnessing her mastery. When the patient was stabilized, Elaine took a tired but satisfied breath. Another life had been saved. This might have been the 100th successful heart transplant in her career, but each case was special to her. When she left the operating theater, day had broken. As usual, after surgery, she went to the hospital cafeteria, got a cup of coffee and a croissant, and sat at her usual table by the window. Dr. Bennett? When Elaine looked up, she saw the hospital's human resources director, Sarah Patel, standing beside her. Sarah, good morning, said Elaine with a tired smile. Good morning. How's the patient? Stable. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm optimistic. Sarah nodded. Great, but I want to talk about another matter. I heard about an incident at the staff entrance last night. Elaine's face became serious. Her fatigue suddenly sharpened. That. Yes, said Sarah, sitting across from her. I'm talking about the security guard Barrett. Several staff members witnessed the incident and reported it to me this morning. What exactly happened? Elaine took a sip of her coffee, needing the caffeine. I forgot my ID. I received an emergency call and rushed to the hospital. Mr. Barrett refused to let me in. From what I understand, some inappropriate comments were also made, said Sarah, carefully choosing her words. If saying that I don't look like a real doctor is inappropriate, then yes, said Elaine, putting her coffee cup on the table. Or saying something about women like me, which we all know what that means. Sarah took a deep breath. Dr. Bennett, this is unacceptable. We don't tolerate such behavior in our hospital. Neither do I, Sarah, said Elaine, with a new determination in her voice. This isn't the first time. In the past 2 years, I've received many complaints about BIPOC staff in our hospital, especially from among the security personnel. Prejudiced comments, unnecessary ID checks, even harassment in some cases. Sarah was surprised. This is the first I'm hearing of this. Because most people are afraid to complain, afraid of losing their job, of being stigmatized. Elaine straightened up. Her authority felt despite her fatigue. But I'm not afraid, Sarah, and this needs to change now. What do you suggest I do? I want a meeting with Barrett, you, me, and hospital director Dr. Harrison, this afternoon. Sarah's eyes widened. That quickly? Yes, said Elaine. We've waited long enough. Also, I want mandatory unconscious bias training for all security personnel. And we need to create a forum to listen to the experiences of BIPOC staff. Sarah nodded. Understood, Doctor. Bennett, I'll make the arrangements right away. After Sarah left, Elaine looked out the window. Day was breaking, the sun rising on the city's horizon. A new day, a new beginning, and perhaps, for Mercy General, a fairer future. James Barrett sat in the chair outside Dr. Harrison's office, more tense than he had ever felt in his life. He had worn a tie, something he normally only did for job interviews. His hands were sweating on his knees, and he kept tugging at his shirt collar. After the incident last night, other security guards had told him who Dr. Elaine Bennett was. Not just the chief of surgery at the hospital, but also a nationally recognized cardiovascular surgeon. She had been cited in Time magazine as the Doctor of the Year. She was the author of 3 medical books, and now Barrett's fate was in her hands. "Mr. Barrett?" Dr. Harrison's assistant appeared at the door. "They're waiting for you." Barrett cleared his throat and stood up, his legs almost refusing to carry him. When he entered the office, 3 people were waiting for him. Dr. Harrison, the hospital director, Sarah Patel, the HR director, and Dr. Elaine Bennett, now dressed in an elegant suit instead of last night's jeans and sweater, with a stethoscope hanging around her neck. "Mr. Barrett, please sit down," said Dr. Harrison, his expression unreadable. Barrett almost collapsed into the chair, his eyes drifting to Dr. Bennett, but he didn't dare make eye contact. "We're here to discuss an incident that occurred at Mercy General last night," said Dr. Harrison. "Dr. Bennett, would you please share your perspective?" Elaine looked at Barrett with neither anger nor triumph in her eyes, just a calm determination. "Last night, I received an emergency call. I came for a heart transplant case, and unfortunately, in my rush, I forgot my ID. I explained the situation to Mr. Barrett, but he refused to let me in. According to protocol," Barrett began, but Dr. Harrison raised a hand. "We're not done yet, Mr. Barrett. Please listen to Dr. Bennett," Elaine continued. "I understand there are strict rules for ID verification. Security protocols are important. But in this case, he refused to make a phone call to verify my identity. And more problematically, he said I didn't look like a real doctor." Barrett's face reddened. "And he made a comment about women like me," added Elaine. "I'm quite clear about what that means. This reflects a prejudice that we cannot accept in our hospital." Dr. Harrison turned to Barrett. "What is your response to these allegations?" Barrett wiped his sweaty hands on his pants. "I was just doing my job. I couldn't let someone in who couldn't show their ID." "What about the comments?" asked Sarah. "What did you mean by saying she didn't look like a real doctor?" Barrett shifted. She was wearing jeans and sneakers. Doctors usually look more professional." "Do they?" Elaine's voice was calm. "Are you aware, Mr. Barrett, that doctors in the hospital are often called in emergency situations? When there's a patient prepared for surgery at midnight and a donor organ on the way? Do you think my style of dress was a priority?" Barrett didn't answer. "What about the women like me comment?" Sarah continued. "I didn't mean it like that." Barrett stammered. "What did you mean then?" asked Dr. Harrison, now with a firmness in his voice. Barrett felt 3 pairs of eyes fixed on him, each waiting for an answer. And at that moment, he realized he had no excuse, no sentence, no explanation could justify what he had done. "I'm sorry," he finally said, his shoulders slumped. I acted with prejudice. Dr. Bennett, I shouldn't have treated you that way. I didn't think someone who looked like you could be a high-level doctor, and that was wrong." The room went silent for a moment. Elaine examined Barrett's face, hoping to see a genuine awareness rather than a fake apology. "Mr. Barrett," she finally said, "I don't take this incident entirely personally, but I do take seriously the larger issue it represents. It's not just me. There are many Black, Indigenous, and people of color professionals working in this hospital, and they all face the same prejudice. Some as patients, some as staff. This is unacceptable." "I completely agree," said Dr. Harrison. "Mr. Barrett, we have a policy at Mercy General. Zero tolerance for discrimination, harassment, or prejudiced behavior." Barrett's heart sank. "So, am I being fired?" Dr. Harrison thought for a moment. "Normally, yes. However, Dr. Bennett has brought forward an alternative proposal for you." Barrett looked at Elaine in surprise. "Mr. Barrett," said Elaine, "firing you doesn't solve the problem. It just moves it somewhere else. Instead, I want to offer you an option. Participate in a comprehensive unconscious bias training program. Attend forums at our hospital where BIPOC professionals share their experiences. And most importantly, learn from this experience." Barrett blinked. "I don't understand. You're giving me a chance." "I'm giving you a responsibility," said Elaine. "The responsibility to change and grow. This won't be easy. You'll need to confront yourself. But I believe that if you truly want to change, you can do it." Barrett's eyes welled up with a mixture of shame and gratitude. "Thank you, Dr. Bennett. I don't deserve this." "Perhaps you don't," said Elaine. "But in this hospital, we give second chances. Every day we give second chances to save lives. We can give one to you, too." After the meeting ended, as Barrett was leaving the office, still trying to process what had happened, Dr. Bennett followed him and stopped him in the corridor. "Mr. Barrett," she said, "I want to ask you a question." "Yes, Dr. Bennett. When you first saw me last night, what did you see?" Barrett hesitated. I saw a black woman wearing jeans." "What else?" "I don't know. Someone suspicious trying to enter the hospital at midnight?" Elaine nodded. "Now I'm going to tell you who I am, Mr. Barrett. I'm a 45-year-old doctor who graduated from Johns Hopkins, trained at the National Institute of Health, holds 6 medical patents, has written 3 books, performed approximately 5,000 surgeries, and saved hundreds of lives. I've won some of the most prestigious awards in medicine. And last night, I was that patient's only hope." Barrett's eyes fell to the ground. "Learn to see a human being instead of labels when you look at a person," said Elaine. "That's the most important lesson I'll give you." Barrett raised his head with a new understanding in his eyes. "I understand, Dr. Bennett, and I'll keep my word. I will change." "Good," said Elaine with a smile, "because you're starting training next week, and I'm one of the trainers." Elaine handed the letter back to him, smiling with genuine pride. "Congratulations, Mr. Barrett. You'll make an excellent nurse." Barrett bowed his head with a grateful expression. "Thank you, Dr. Bennett. Not for changing me, but for showing me that I could change." Elaine nodded and continued walking, her heart feeling slightly full. Every day in the hospital, she saved lives, in the operating room, with the skill of her hands. But today, she felt like she had saved another kind of life, a life she had brought out of the darkness of prejudice and misunderstanding. It was easy to imagine a world without prejudices, biased people, and systemic racism. But real change came through difficult conversations, brave encounters, and most importantly, by giving others a chance to see their own potential. That night in a hospital, an encounter between a surgeon and a security guard showed that fighting discrimination isn't always about anger and punishment, but sometimes about understanding and education. And so, the truth came out and justice was served. A black professional not only stood up for her own worth, but also helped others see their own worth. This story shows that sometimes the greatest changes can arise from the most unexpected encounters. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and stay with us for more inspiring stories. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.